Welcome everyone to This Week in Svelte, episode 79. And I'm very happy today because we will have a community showcase. So I'm always happy when the community comes and share whatever they are building for Svelte, and I love it. And by the way, like if you want to come to This Week in Svelte to show your work, please reach out. You can find me on Discord. You can join the Discord, svelte.dev/chat, and you can contact me. I'm basically living there. So, yeah, whenever, tag me, and I will gladly have you on stream to present your work. But let's jump right into it because, as usual, we can start with the changelog. I can't remember if last week, because it's 27. This probably was, I don't know, published while This Week in Svelte was on. So it was closed actually for in Svelte changelog, but I think we actually didn't went over this. There is also this is not a bug in Svelte changelog. I want to make sure, it's just that sometimes change sets, which is the version manager that we are using in Svelte, I don't know why, sometimes does not publish a release. So release 261 was not published, but there is, and it's very interesting, and I want to talk about it. So I will go over it in the PR itself. So let's go over it. We have just 3 release because the Rich, Simon, and Dominic are busy working on the documentation, which is good. So let's see. Ensure use directive execute in the correct sequence. This was basically the correct sequences because in Svelte 4, the use directives, so the actions, were executed first on the children, then on the parent. In Svelte 5, it was not like this, so now it is. Because some library was using this to be sure that the children was already initialized when the parent did something. So it's interesting. Blank CSS contents while migrating. This is also we are not migrating. We will talk a bit about the migration tool because there was a lot of changes to the migration tool. So since we are not migrating CSS at all, it was creating some problem with some preprocessor. So now they are just blanked. So before migrating, we removed the CSS and stuff like that. This was also interesting. In custom elements, slots are a thing. So if you are using a custom element, if you're building a Svelte component into a custom element, it's wrong to migrate slots because they need to stay there. Okay, don't consider children. This is probably a CSS fix. Don't consider children of rules when checking whether they are used or not. Treat image alt attribute as content for accessibility labeling purpose. This is, I think, was a problem with Svelte Kit because, if you are using an image inside a button, the button is considered empty and it was throwing a warning. But if there is an image and has an alt attribute, you can use that as for accessibility. So it's probably fine. Make ownership wedding more robust to userland proxies. This was you can still break this thing, but there's no way to prevent it with proxies. Because basically what was happening is that if you have a proxy, I don't know if you ever used one, but let's say what you can do is you can do new proxy, you pass an object, and then you can define a series of traps. That is what they're called. So you can say that whenever you get something, you need to return something else. So let's say const p is equal new proxy. This get is invoked whenever you do p dot something. So console log p dot something, for example. This get is invoked whenever you access something on this p object, and you can return basically whatever from this. So if I return 42, 43, I can do p dot something, p dot s, p dot o, p dot m, like p dot blah, wherever you return, will return 43. And this is kind of problematic because like this way you can literally like Svelte internally, for example, is checking if something is a signal by using a symbol and stuff like that. But the problem is that if you return a proxy that return always the same thing, it will assume that the thing that you return is the symbol that they are looking for, and assume that this is a state variable, while in reality it's not. It's a bit complex, but it was like an edge case that we fixed. Validation should not fail on anonymous declaration. I can't remember what's this for. We can probably take a look. Actually, let's use this thing. Okay, it was just fixing an issue. Yeah. Okay, I don't know what's this about. Let's not spend too much time on it. Then there is the 262, which is the newest release, which also has some interesting thing. Like, for example, enables snippet to fill slot. This is very interesting because basically the problem is if you are using yeah, so let's see the actual bug. So the problem is, let's say that you are using let me see, I think that the bug actually was yeah, okay. Basically the problem is if you are using a slot in a Svelte component, but on the other side they are passing a children, like a snippet, how does it work? And so like this PR basically, oh sorry, I'm opening my Twitter. Like this PR is basically allowing for interop between slot and between slot sorry, I can talk, and a snippet. And we can take a look, for example, at the test case for it. So just for, yeah. So as you can see, let's say that you have a component that is like this. It has a slot, and it has a slot with some property. And let's say that you want to use like this is a Svelte 5 component, and you want to use a snippet. There was no way to fix this, and like with this PR, we get it. So if you do Svelte 5 preview, let's say that you have the component here, and this component, it's an old component. Let's say that it's a library, for example. So it's not updated to Svelte 5 yet, and this means that there is like it's using slots. So when you build this component, you can pass a slot in and stuff like that. But let's say that you are using this component, which is a Svelte 5 component, and you want to use snippets. from component.svelte. You want to use snippets. There was no way to do it before. Now you can. So default, now it just works. And if you are using a snippet with named, you can also get so named. So this is still working. So as you can see, like it renders correctly, despite the fact that this is a slot. And if they are passing back something to you, so this is the way that before you could get something, you will get it, but only on the first element. So you will get a single object with all these properties, name and foo. Oh, actually, name is the name of the slot, so you don't get actually name, but you get foo, and you can do named foo, and you get it. So the alternative would be to use something like a component, and you pass the default like this, and then you pass something like, I don't know, svelte fragment slot is equal to named fragment named foo. Yeah, obviously you should do something like this. Let foo. So this is what you will do, like would have like what you should have done before, and now you can actually use snippets to do this, which is pretty cool. Let's go back to our changelog. Strip internal properties from rest prop during SSR. This was a simple fix because during SSR there were no, like, all the props that you pass were like actually in the object, and this meant that basically if you were like looping over rest props or props, you will also get all the slots and stuff like that, which is wrong. So what I want to talk about though is this, like this version packages that was merged yesterday was meant to be the release 261, and there was no release for some reason. But these contained a lot of fixes to the migration script, which, by the way, you should definitely try out. So if you are in a quite big Svelte project, even just for fun, let's try to run npx svelte-migrate svelte 5. So if you try to do that, the migration script, which is what you also have access to, in Svelte 5 preview, so this migration here, will run on your whole code base, and it will convert basically every component to Svelte 5. So we announced this last week, and obviously people tried, reported issues, so there were a lot of bug fixing about this. And now, like, there is a lot of stuff that, and also some feature. So, for example, I want to talk about something that changed. For example, Svelte component was like now is deprecated in run mode, and the migration script now handles that. So, if you have a component, let's say with like this, and you do import from right? Now, let's say that you are not in Svelte in run mode, and you are using Svelte component this is equal to right? So this is like, this was rendering the component like this. When you migrate, now you actually get the proper way. And what's cool is that, like, this actually like contemplate, let's say that I have a component B, which is like this, and let's say that I'm doing, I don't know, count %2 is equal to 0, then A, otherwise B. Like this is something that you can do, and like as you can see, B is not defined. Yeah, obviously I need to import it like this. Okay, so as you can see, like it switched between A and B. And when you try to migrate this code, what you get is a derived. So because that's how you can like still have this thing, and obviously this works. And the neat part is that let's say that you have this inside an if, for example, it will try to like build to the most proper way. So in this case, let's say that you are in an if block, what you can do is instead of moving this in a derived, you can just move these in a const tag. So it will do that too, which is pretty cool. So that's something that now it's handled by the migration script. Let's see something else. Oh, this is also pretty interesting because basically, and I actually didn't knew about this before. You could have, so let me do this. Okay, we are in this component. You could have something like this: Svelte options, accessors. Now, this is being deprecated. We need to fix this in the sense that we don't want to warn when you are in we are not in rune mode, but accessors basically allowed you to access. So let's do it on the a component so that I can show you. So let's say that you have a script tag and you have export let thing, right? And let's say that you do thing. Now in Svelte 4, this syntax here, is Svelte self handled by the migration script? I don't think it is, but if it's not, we can try. If it's not, feel free to open an issue and we can definitely make it work, I guess, hopefully. So with this thing like this, when you import from and you render it, so let's say I'm rendering and I bind these to for example. So I need let is let and basically what I can do here is obviously I can pass these, that like thing is equal to 0, for example. And now what I want to do is, what I can do is a.thing is equal, like a.thing plus plus, for example, right? So this works, actually works. If you have these option accessors, you basically have access to all the props on your instance. So if I click, as you can see, it's incrementing it. And in Svelte 5, this is not only deprecated, but it doesn't work. And how you should do, you can just export your prop as a thing. So now this is also handled by the migration. So if you have some component like this, you can migrate it. And as you can see, I mean, this changed file. As you can see, basically, like it changed to props. It removed the accessors from Svelte options. And also the thing that it does is it export thing. So if you do something like this, basically Svelte is creating a getters and setter on this component. And now this works just fine. So this was also pretty interesting. There's some bug fix. This is also something like in Svelte 5, you might have seen the discussion about self-closing tags. So basically in Svelte 4, it's not a problem. I cannot go back. That's annoying. So in Svelte 4 is not a problem. So if I do this, div, or actually it's a problem also in Svelte 4. But I mean, if you literally have Svelte 4, it's not a problem. In Svelte 5, even in legacy mode, it's a problem. So you will get this error, like self-closing HTML tags. And actually, let's move it here because otherwise we will get... So here you can see self-closing tag HTML, non-void element are ambiguous. This means that like if you have an input, it's fine because like this is a self-closing tag. The div is not a self-closing tag. So in HTML, if you do something like this, outside the div, this is actually inside the div because this is not closing the div. And so now the migration script also handle this. So if you migrate, now you get div and closing div. So the thing is removed. Let's go over. Yeah, were some bug with the migration of Svelte component. There was also like type only stuff. So there was some bug fix, and I think the migration basically handle all of this. Let's try with Svelte self. I don't think it's actually, let's see. So if I do Svelte, like, let's say, we need to put a stop to it. So let's do let count, export let count is equal to 0. And if count is equal to 0, we want to have Svelte self count is equal to count plus 1. I'm pretty sure this is not migrated. Let's try. Yeah, it's not migrated. But that's a good idea. Thank you, Sean. If you open an issue, I guess we can probably do it. I don't know if we can do it, actually. I need to... Let's open an issue, but let's investigate, because the point is that, like, to migrate these, what you should do is you should import self, for example, from up.svelte, and then you should do this, basically. So this is something that you can do, absolutely. So if I do count, you can see that it's doing this. So this works, and you can absolutely import yourself. I don't know if inside the migration script we have the information about what's the file name. So it might be impossible to import it yourself. But I guess we can try. So feel free to open an issue. So I think that was it for the changelog. Let me see if they have something. Yeah, we have a better error message when calling push replace state before routing is initialized. This is a problem. This is a problem in SvelteKit, because if you call push or replace state inside before the router is initialized, which means basically on mount, like if you try to push something on mount, there was an error because the router is not initialized, so it was erroring out, and it's still error out, but it will give you a better error. Svelte migrate, yeah, you can, like, it uses next version of Svelte and Vite plugin Svelte. It's adding the Svelte 5 migration, relax component constructor type. I guess this was, yeah, it was already here 7 days ago. So yeah, that's it for the changelog. And by the way, we have another comment. Shouldn't be hard, but props might be tricky. In theory, it shouldn't be tricky, because like, the point is, you really only need to, like, the migration of the prop is already like this. So the only thing that you should do is import yourself. So Svelte self, you should add the import to yourself and change Svelte self with the name of the import that you did. So that's it basically. So because the rest of the thing, it's already like this is expecting something like the rest of the code is just to not blow up. Like the rest of the code needs to be there also with that self. Otherwise, it will infinitively recurse, and that's a problem. But let's say that this is a Svelte component. Export let count. Like let's say that instead of doing this, I'm using window dot something, right? So I don't know if I can do it actually. Like let's say window dot window dot I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't want to like cause an infinite loop. So it should be fine. It should be fine. Like because again, the rest is still there. So I think I just caused an infinite loop. No. Yeah. So the props are already migrated. The only thing that you need to. What about slot props with Svelte self? I mean, that's too much. I think it shouldn't be a problem because, like, again, this is already handled. Like, this thing is already handled by the rest of the migration. Like, if I do this, Svelte self, I don't know, slot name is equal, no, not name, slot count, for example, like this, and then let count. I mean, we are not migrating slots, I guess. Yeah, we are not migrating. No, we are migrating slots. Okay, so we are migrating slots. So this is already is passing. Okay, so but we are not migrating slots up in the sense that if you are using a component, we are not migrating because the problem is that if you are using a component from a library, they might still send the old way. They might not update, so we can't actually migrate component let count, for example. So that's not migrated. So if you have a situation like this, the migration is actually correctly, like you just need to migrate slots, which we already do, and change Svelte self with self. So this should work too, I guess. I don't know why it's not showing up, because in theory, I think because it needs to be initialized to 0. Yeah. So yeah, if you have something like this, as you can see, like this works. And if you want to render old count, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Is equal to chi, for example. I don't know what's happening. I will figure it out. It's not something to do live when there are 28 people watching. And this is especially true because now that we finish with the changelog, I mean, I will go quickly with the announcement that on the 19th of October, so in just about 15 days, we will get our next Svelte Summit. Feel free to tune in this very channel because there will be Kevin and Brittany that will. Okay, we start having some speakers here. So Rich will definitely speak. Ben, which is another Svelte maintainer, and so Kevin and Brittany will, as usual, be the masters of ceremony of Svelte Summit. So feel free to join in because it will be very cool. Okay, so now it's time for. I will remove my screen because now it's time for the community showcase. So I will add and please welcome Kampsy because today he's gonna show us one of his. Hi Kampsy. He's gonna show
Hi.
one of his I don't know if it's your only library, but basically he's built a library. Correct me if I'm wrong, based on the a design system from Versailles, right?
Yes, yes, correct.
So this is a library that it's a design system library. So it's a like it's a component library basically, and the design is based on a design system from Vercel. So I will like leave the stage for you. You feel free. I will add your screen now, so you have here and you can show everybody your library, and I will leave to you. And if anybody has any question, drop them in chat and I will we will go over them later.
Yep. So, my name is Kamsi, and I have been working on Kampsy-ui for the past 4 months now. Yep. So it is a component library optimized for Svelte 5. So it doesn't support Svelte 3 or 4. It's not backwards compatible. I deliberately uh, built it and optimized it for Svelte 5 because I love the direction Svelte is uh, heading to. And I personally love Svelte 5 and Vercel's design system as well. So I decided, okay, let me build a component library in Svelte 5 for me to learn more about Svelte 5, the quirks, the advantages, the disadvantages, but at the same time, to also build a framework that is optimized for Svelte 5. Because when I started, there wasn't really any UI component that was designed for Svelte 5 specifically. So it is ui.kampsy.xyz. I will drop the link and it'll be shared. So I will go through the installation process. So when you go to install, I will copy this. I hope my screen, hope you can see this. So I will update the installation process because there are parts where I assume that, okay, a developer knows how to, for example, set up Tailwind. So first I'm setting up Svelte Kit. We'll use Skeleton Project, TypeScript, and this is the most important part, Svelte Kit Preview. Yeah, it's unstable. So I'll cd into my app. Let's install the dependencies. That is done. Okay. So what's next? Tailwind. So we're going to add Tailwind. Get started. We'll go to framework specific guides. We're using Svelte Kit, and we're going to copy this. PM. Awesome. Going to run this. npx. Awesome. So I will open, actually, let me just add a workspace. There you are. There you are. Okay. So yeah, so this is where we are. We're setting up Tailwind. So we're going to add this. So this is not included in the installation as you saw, but I will update it so that it is clear. For example, someone might assume that Kampsy-ui works with Svelte 304. So it's still setting up Tailwind. Let's copy this. Add our app.css. Add that. What's next? To our layout. So I'm just going to copy some code from the table so that I do not have to type like everything. So let me just copy this. I'll make a few changes. Routes. So we'll do layout.svelte. Make a few changes. So use main. Say main. And oops, closing, say main, and we're going to import this. And we're going to put it on top. So I'm just going to remove this. And removing this. Yeah, yes, I know. Let's give it fixed, top 0, left 0, yeah. Width full, height full. And let's run this. So everything should work. Like setting up Tailwind. Let's run it on localhost 3000. Let's just edit this part. Dev port 3000. Yes. npm dev. So we're setting up Tailwind and everything. Let me just increase the size. So this is our new project. Tailwind is set up. In order for us to check whether Tailwind is actually set up, let's do a background of green 500 as an example. Okay, Tailwind is working. Perfect. So now, so that's the process that I should include in the installation guide. So the next thing is we add Kampsy-ui to our project. We install Kampsy-ui, which is version 0.1, yep. And then love copying and pasting. We just copy this whole thing and paste it into our Tailwind config. This whole thing. We'll just paste it here. and everything should work. We're going to import a component. Let's do a theme switcher, right? We're just going to copy our theme switcher and script long ts, right? And we'll put our theme switcher there. And we paste it here. So everything should work. Yep. Switch light. So that's the process of installing Kampsy-ui. So we initialized the new Svelte project, installed and set up Tailwind CSS, and finished installing Kampsy-ui. So let me add another component, a choice box. So you can copy and paste. So what I did, I made sure that whatever is in the documentation, so whatever is up here is the code that is there. So you can copy and paste to try out different things, to try out different components. So let me just, okay. So what am I importing? Yep. Choice box. And so as you can see, this is a state rune, a union type of string, and an array of a string. So when we add it here, we've got choice box. Let's switch to dark mode. It works. And we can change this to be, instead of a radio, it becomes a choice box. You can choose one or both. So let me change this to choice box. So yeah, it just works. So yeah, that was the choice box. So the other thing, the reason why I went with Vercel's design system is because I loved that they thought about, you know, the mobile experience, not just the desktop. So with Kampsy-ui, I also think about, you know, mobile first. How does it look like on a mobile phone? It should look and feel native, like a native application when you're using it on a mobile screen. So to demonstrate this, I'll use a calendar as an example. So as you can see, this is how it looks like desktop. If I switch to mobile, right, it works and looks native. It really looks like a mobile phone. And this design language, it is carried to the select, it's carried to the choice box. Oh, sorry, not the choice box. The menu. It's carried to the menu. It looks like this on mobile. Go to desktop. Looks like that. So I encourage you to check it out, install it, play with it. If there are any issues, please report the issues on GitHub. I'm actively working on Kampsy-ui. I'm working on it full time. I've been working on it full time for the past 4 months. And my goal and my target is to make sure that all the components that you would use on a daily, that you would use are included. and I hope I will finish before Svelte 5's stable release, because that's my target and that's my goal. So yeah, this is Kampsy-ui. Check it out, use it, report any issues, and yep, that's it.
That was very, very cool. Uh, I am really like, I want to ask you, like, did you use some other library under the hood, or did you like literally wrote all the code yourself to manage everything? Like, I don't know, the calendar, for example, because
Correct.
I mean that's a task, like build a
Yes.
calendar. So,
Yeah. So the only dependency is Tailwind CSS. So I started everything. So other than Tailwind, no, nothing. I didn't use uh, Bits UI or Melt UI. And the reason is when I got into Svelte 5, right? It's completely different. It changes the way you think about how you design components. So that was the first step, because I did not want to think about how I design components in Svelte 3 and 4. Svelte 5 just makes you think differently.
yeah.
And using a library that was developed with that in mind wasn't really a good fit for me. So that's the reason why I decided, okay, the base is Svelte 5, and I will try and use Svelte 5, and to actually show to the community that you can actually build really, really cool
Oh yeah.
things using Svelte 5. So it is a proof of
Like
concept.
I'm really impressed because for how long you have been working on this? Because uh,
Uh, when my son was born in May,
mhm.
so after my son was born, and May, June, I started working on it in June. So
That's
that's
very,
four
very
months
impressive.
now.
It will probably take me like 4 months just to build the calendar because
Yeah.
I mean it's very. We have a question from Ter, which is: does this library take accessibility into account? Like,
So that's my focus for this coming sprint, right? I have so there are, like with the buttons, there are a few accessibility things that I've included, but not everything, right?
mhm,
And the reason was at first I wanted, let me first refine the API of certain components, how they will look like, and then I will go back and add all the important stuff like accessibility. So that is very important, and it is on my list of to do once done with. I'm currently working on a model component. So once that is done, then I'll start now adding accessibility. So at the moment, very few, but it is on my, like, it is very
yeah,
important. It's very important. Top priority, yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very cool. Congrats, because again, it's not an easy fit, and also like obviously like design wise, having a design library, like having a design system built from for someone else may seem, yeah, I mean that's a cheat because you're just copying, but it's not easy. Like it's not easy at all. Like you literally need um, to like build the whole thing from scratch, and it needs to be pixel perfect, and all the interaction, like you said, like the fact that on mobile it's a different and still feels native, it's not easy at all. So
Yeah.
congrats.
Thank
And
you.
if from the chat anyone has any question, that's some love from your wife. So
Yeah, she's a huge fan. She's
yeah.
my number one fan.
And thank you very much for showing us. It was very, very cool.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to seeing the community use it, and yeah, can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy. And I'm excited because I mean this is one of the first Svelte 5 only library. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay, um, yeah, you get some love also from Captain Codeman. Thank you very much, Kamsi. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining. And let's move on. I will remove, but if you want to join, you just need to write on the chat. So we have one last topic for today. I want to avoid bashing you with light mode. So yeah, I just want to do this just so we get some dark mode for free. Let me see if it's applying. Oh, it's not. Let me add a bit of a background color. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to like prevent you from being bashed. So the question for today is um, about global state, global shared state, and so I prepared a bit of an example. Usually, you see me use SvelteLab for this. I can't because I need to like show you a specific thing, and there is a bug in the Web Container API that means that SvelteLab cannot open multiple tabs and stuff like that. So I actually prepared a project locally, and the project is actually quite simple. So I just added those lines to prevent you from bashing. So let's say that you have this layout and you have a global notification. So if you go into the lib user, for the moment I'm using a writable. We can convert this later to a rune. But the point is that you have some global state. And um, you might have heard that having global state with stores and stuff like that, it's like you need to pay attention to this, and this is kind of a demonstration of why you need to pay attention. So the thing here is that the setup is pretty simple. You have this global notification, which is a store, and you loop over every store and you are printing the notification, and like that's just some styling. And then you have the plus page.svelte, and in the plus page.svelte I have some data that I don't need anymore, and in the plus page.svelte I actually don't need data at all. What's happening? Okay, in the plus pages belt, I have a very simple, like I have a form that it's using enhance with a save button and something to reset. And the setup is very simple because the only thing that I do in this action is redirect to the same page with a success code, right? And then I have the plus page.ts, which is reading the URL search params. And if it has success, so if you are coming back from success, I'm adding this global notification, like I'm updating global notification, adding a saved notification, and then I'm redirecting back to slash just to prevent like to the refresh to add multiple one. This might not be the best setup to do this kind of stuff, um, but it's something that you may use because you want to have, I don't know, server side rendered global notification and stuff like that. This can also be something else, like I don't know, you are trying to store the user from the plus page.ts when he actually authenticate. I just come up with this example because it was useful for me to show. Sorry, there is a fly that is flying right into my webcam. So we have this setup, and this setup actually works. Like if we are here and we save, we get a saved, and the more we save, the more we get saved. And if we refresh the page, obviously they go away because it's just a store, right? But now let's see what happens when we navigate to the same page on another account. So like this, imagine that this is two users accessing the same page. And let's say that this user is very fast, or maybe it's behind a VPN, so it has JavaScript disabled, right? So since it has JavaScript disabled, when you refresh the page, these the fly is trying to steal your fame. I don't want any fame, but like it's just distracting. So as I was saying, like this user, let's say that it joined the page and it's under the tube and it's very very fast to click save. And so he clicks save and it seems to work, right? Then he saves again and it seems to work pretty fine. But now this user wants to open the page, and when you refresh the page, you see it like it's flashing a couple of saved. Why is that? And if I add another one here, now it's flashing 3. Then it works like that, is fine, but why? And the reason why we have something like this is because here we are like, that's the risk of accessing a store, a global store inside a load function, for example. This load function is the universal load function, and this means that this load function runs on the client when JavaScript is enabled. So let's invalidate this. Like if I save this, the notification should go away. So this runs on the client when JavaScript is enabled. So if I am here and I have JavaScript and I save, if I refresh the page, like that was just something that was globally on the client. The problem is that when you run that on the server, that's global state on the server, and the server, it's only one. So while the client, each client has its own global thing, on the server, there's only one server, and the server is shared between those two pages. So when this user without JavaScript is accessing that page, what you are adding the saved notification to is a global writable store in the server. And when you load the page here, you are reading from that global store, which is the same as this one, which is pretty frightening, because in this case it's just a global notification. But let's say that you were storing user information, for example. The moment someone accesses user information on this page, it's actually like the next refresh, this page will get the other user information. So this is why you should never use this thing. So the first thing that I want to do is, now we are using Svelte 5, so I don't care about stores anymore. No, I don't. It's not true. I love stores, so I can't like deny that I love stores. But let's convert this to runes. So this is another question about global store. How can I get global state with runes? So the one thing that you can do is, like, for example, for this case, I will probably use a class, because a class is actually a good experience for this. So you can do class, I don't know, global notifications. And we need to rename this to be user.svelte.ts, because we want to use state. So we can have notifications, which is $state, like this. And I think I can pass here string like this. And then let's say that I do, I don't know, push. Yeah, let's push. and we just do this dot notifications dot push, like notifications, which is a string, and push notification. And then this is a new global notifications. So we have this. We need to change the layout, obviously, because now this is not like it should. Yeah, it's user.svelte. Okay, what's happening here? There's no exported member. What? User.svelte.js. What? Why is this unused though? What is happening here? There's some problem. Okay. I think I need to just restart the Svelte language server. Okay. Now this is not a store anymore, so I want to do notifications. Okay. So this should basically work the same. I need to change something here. No, actually here. Oh, I can find. Yeah, instead of update, I just want to do global notification.push saved. What? Okay, so this should work the same. I hope. Let's see. Yeah, this is working, and this should have the same problem. Yeah, same problem. So this is like how you can convert to thing. But now let's see how to fix this problem of global shared state. Now, what I would do is instead of creating something literally in a separate file where anybody can access, you can even use this, like you can do export class global notification, which by the way, I still don't know why I need to restart the TypeScript server. I don't know why. Yeah, okay. Instead of exporting a new global notification, you can just do this. So you don't export the global notification. In the layout, you can import global notification like this. I don't know what's happening. Like, I think, I don't know. Okay. And then you can import from Svelte, you can import set context. And I mean, I already showed you this a lot of time, but let's say that you do set context notifications, and you can pass notifications is a new global notification. And by the way, if you don't know, set context also return the object, so you can do const is equal to notifications is equal to that. You can do this, and you can do this. Okay. And I don't know why, like there's some problem with my VS Code. Restart the language server. There's some problem with this. Okay. And obviously, I mean, this is a contraption. Like, you shouldn't do this. That's not like, it's not the normal way to do this kind of stuff. So let's say that you want to add a normal notification. Instead of doing this whole contraption, you can just do this, and you can remove the whole page.ts, delete, move to trash, and on the layout.server, like, you don't need to do this anymore, but instead you maybe want to return something if it's successful. In this case, it's fine. And what you want to do is this is weird. What you want to do is you can use the enhance function to do something like this. So in the enhance function, you can pass a function. This function will be invoked when you submit the form, and you can return a function from it. And when you return a function from it, you get the result and you get the update function. So you should call the update function to update all the stores and stuff like that. And you can check if result.type is equal to success. You can do, obviously, you want to get import from Svelte, you want to get context, const is equal to get context, notifications, you can get notifications like this, and then you can do notifications dot push saved. So by doing something like this, let's do notifications is of type global notifications. So if you have something like this, and by the way, I still don't know why I get this problem here. So let's try to do this, and let's try to import global notification from user world. I don't know what happens. Maybe I misspelled it. And like I'm getting this error because it's not assignable to parameter like blah, 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 blah. But that's just because you need to type it manually, unfortunately. Notifications, it's of type global notification. Oh, yeah, obviously. Notification dot notifications. Yep. So this is all, and this basically should be self-contained, unless I did something wrong and I am. Well, let me see. Cannot the structure runtime property. Oh, you know what I did? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, notification. So this now should work. So if I refresh, if I save, it's working. If you refresh, and obviously, like this had the downside that it doesn't work on known JavaScript. Like if you don't have JavaScript, it doesn't work. I would say it's not a huge problem because like before it was working, but it was kind of broken anyway. I think there is a way to make this work. Like you can probably make this work if you really want to do this. You can probably make it work with, I don't know, some cookie or something like that to keep in mind that you can have the notification. But yep, that's it. I was trying to find a good example of this for some time, but I was not able to find it. Let's see if we have any question. So the global state is per machine. So this would happen if two users access the same page, right? Not really. Like the global state on the client is per page. So if you open multiple page, you have multiple global state. The global state on the server is per machine, but you need to deploy to some server. So when you deploy to your head center, or I mean, even in like with serverless, the server will shut down after a while. So it's probably less painful. But every request that goes to that same server will get the same state, the same global state. Exactly. It will be there while the server keeps running. Users don't need to be concurrent. What do you mean by this? Stores are not client side. So stores is just JavaScript, and you are running JavaScript also on the server. So the point is that the store is there and it's created on the server. And when you update the store, you will update the value of the store and it will be right on the server. So um, but yeah, as Captain Codeman is saying, they only make sense for client-side reactivity because um, on the server it's a one shot. You don't have reactivity. Like reactivity only makes sense on the client because you don't want to refresh the page to get new data on the page. But on the server, there's no reason to have a store because on the server, like it's just a variable. Basically, it's just a container for the value. And this is why, by the way, if you take a look at the Svelte 5 preview thing, you can try, like, if you take a look at the compiled code, you can see that let count $state is compiled to $.state on the client. But if you switch to server, it's just a variable. You don't need reactivity on the server because it's a one-shot thing. Keys using the client side only. I'm not using the client side only because the plus page.ts runs both on the client and on the server. So when you have JavaScript and you submit the form, that load function will run only on the client. It's just a function call. But when the user that does not have JavaScript submit the form, that load function will still run. Yeah, the same code runs on the server, which is fine as long as you're not mutating it on the server. And yeah, that's the problem. Like PageTS is not client. PageTS is universal, which means that runs on the client and on the server. And by the way, this is the same thing. Like the problem is exactly this. Like you might not feel like plus page.ts because it does not have the server name in it. So you may think like this doesn't run on the server, but in reality, it runs on the server, just like the script tag of every component that you server-side render. So the script tag of every component that you server-side render actually runs also on the server. That's why it's kind of problematic. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, get and set context is an unnecessary complexity. Just don't mutate on the server. I agree. But sometimes, like, you might need like an extra security, for example, for user data. If you need to share the whole, like the user data with the whole application, like you can stick it sorry, you can stick it in a global variable and that's it. But what happens if then a junior developer like forget about it and like set the store on the client on the server? Then you will get like leakage. So sometimes is necessary. For global notification, definitely not. Maybe in the sense that obviously, like, let's say that like instead of just having a global variable, you have a global map and you set a session ID and then the global state, that could work because then you are only accessing the state of the session ID correctly. But in this case, you're actually just assigning to a variable, which has no concept of a session ID. And yes, page.ts is client only if SSR is disabled. Yes, correct. So yeah, if you're building a single page application, this is not actually a problem that you need to incur in. Okay, I think that was it again. as usual, I hope you learned something. I'm very hyped and impressed about Kampsy library. I hope you enjoyed it too. And it's been 1 hour and 50 minutes as usual. Sorry, guys, I speak too much. Thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you guys next week. See ya.